Welcome back to the deep dive. We are taking the source material you provided, diving headfirst into the core data, and making sure you walk away well-informed, especially if you are facing a crucial gear decision.
And today we're wading into a really interesting one.
We are. It's a classic internal battle within the Canon mirrorless ecosystem,
Wow.
the R7 versus the R8. This is a rivalry entirely created by Canon's own, well, revolutionary strategy.
It's not just a rivalry, it's a philosophical split, really, in their mid-range lineup. And it creates a genuinely difficult choice for you, the consumer.
It does. We have two highly capable cameras released just 9 months apart.
Right, the R7 came out in May 2022, and it's all about capability and that crop sensor reach.
And then the R8 followed in February 2023, focusing on full frame quality, but at a really aggressive price.
Exactly. They share the RF lens mount, which is key, but they are built for fundamentally different photographers.
Right. So our mission today is not to just obsess over minor specifications. We want to analyze their distinct capabilities, the core differences like full frame versus APS-C or, IBIS versus extreme portability.
And match those features to specific real-world demands.
We need to go beyond the spec sheet to ensure, which camera truly wins for your specific style and workflow.
Because the core conflict here is so fascinating, and it's why so many people get stuck on this choice. The R8 delivers true professional-grade full-frame image quality, but it achieves its accessible price point by making some pretty significant feature compromises in the body.
And on the other side, you have the R7, which has what we're calling operational mastery.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It packs in those professional features like in-body stabilization, a much higher mechanical birth rate, dual card slots.
But it houses them around a smaller crop sensor format.
So we're not comparing good versus better here.
Not at all. We are comparing two distinct sets of priorities. You are being forced, really, to decide what matters most to your photography.
Is it the absolute highest sensor quality for those aesthetic purposes?
Or is it the robust, reliable operational toolkit you need for field work?
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, both of these cameras are trying to define the future of mirrorless photography for the enthusiast market.
But they offer completely different answers to the question, what compromises are acceptable when you're building an affordable, cutting-edge camera?
That's it. Understanding which set of compromises you can live with is the key to unlocking the right choice for you.
Okay, let's unpack this by looking at the foundation of both systems. The sensor philosophy itself. The sensor is the photographic engine of the camera, right? And these two engines operate on completely different fuel types.
That's a great analogy.
So let's start with the R8. It was designed with a singular, really compelling vision.
To deliver full-frame sensor performance without that traditional, eye-watering full-frame price tag.
And what's fascinating here is the quality of the sensor they actually chose to put in the R8.
It's a 24-megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor, measuring a full 36 by 24 millimeters.
So this is true, flagship level size.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the exact dimension you'd find in professional bodies that cost thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, more than the R8. It's an uncompromised full-frame experience from a quality standpoint.
And the R8 leverages that inherent, just unassailable advantage of the large format.
Especially when it comes to gathering light and creating that shallow depth of field.
We saw in the sources that the pixel area on the R8 measures a colossal 36.0000000 square micrometers.
And that measurement is one of the most important facts in this entire deep dive. That single number.
Why is it so critical?
Because that individual pixel area is a staggering 253% larger than the light gathering sites on the R7 sensor.
253%.
It's simple physics, really. Bigger photosites, or pixels, collect substantially more light in any given exposure time, and this translates directly into a massive advantage in three key areas.
Okay, what are they?
First, you get cleaner images at very high ISO values, much less noise. Second, superior dynamic range.
Meaning you have more room to play with in post-production.
Far more room. You can push shadows or recover highlights before you see any noise or, that ugly color banding.
And the third area?
The third, and for many people this is the most critical, is the aesthetic of the image itself. The full-frame format provides a naturally shallower depth of field and a distinct look-at-depth compression that just feels more cinematic or professional to a lot of people.
I see. So the sensor size isn't just about technical quality. It's about a specific visual style that full-frame buyers are really chasing after.
Precisely. If you put a wide aperture lens on it, say an f1.8 prime, The R8 will produce far more subject isolation and that creamy background blur, what photographers call bokeh.
Much more than the R7 could ever achieve with the exact same lens and settings.
It's a fundamental aesthetic difference. It's in the physics of the format.
And Canon backs this light advantage up with some incredible sensitivity specs. The R8's native ISO range goes from 100 all the way up to 102,400.
Which is genuinely exceptional for camera at this price point. It even expands up to 204,800.
What's the practical impact of that for someone listening?
The practical impact is truly massive. If you are a wedding photographer dealing with an extremely dimly lit reception.
Right, the classic dark church or dance floor scenario.
Exactly. Or if you're trying to capture an indoor sports game where the lighting is just awful and you're not allowed to use a flash, the R8 lets you shoot confidently at ISO 12,800 or even 25,600 and still maintain acceptable, usable noise levels.
So you can maximize the natural ambiance of a scene.
Whereas the R7 user would be, well, they'd be fighting a lot more digital noise at those same sensitivity levels.
Now let's pivot to the R7, the resolution specialist. It embraces a completely different goal.
Different philosophy, really. It's maximizing reach and detail.
The R7 packs a 33 megapixel APS-C sensor, so it's physically smaller.
Right. But, and this is the key trade-off, it packs 37% more pixels than the R8. It consciously trades some of that absolute low-light performance for raw resolution.
And what we have to stress, reach.
That's the word. Reach.
That reach is the feature that really defines the R7, the 1.6x crop factor, which just means the field of view is 1.6 times narrower than a full-frame camera.
Is, in this context, completely weaponized for specific disciplines.
It's often called a free telephoto extension, and for good reason.
For wildlife, for birding, for field sports photographers, it's invaluable. Truly. If you mount a Canon RF 100-400mm lens, for example.
The R7 immediately turns that into a 160-640mm equivalent focal length.
Yes, and if you take a classic 70-200mm f2.8 lens, it suddenly becomes a powerful 112-320mm lens.
That's incredible.
Wildlife enthusiasts often spend thousands and thousands of dollars to achieve that kind of focal length in a full-frame system. The R7 just delivers it automatically, often with lighter and more affordable glass.
And because the R7 has that high 33 megapixel resolution, you also get this serious cropping latitude.
Which is essentially image insurance.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, when you're dealing with fast-moving, unpredictable subjects, a bird in flight, a soccer player making a run, you often capture the scene a little bit wider, right?
Right, to make sure you don't cut off a wingtip or a foot.
The R7's high resolution lets you aggressively zoom in or crop that image in post-production and still maintain enough pixel density for a large, high-quality print or even a sharp 4K file.
So if you miss the perfect tight framing in the moment,
that extra resolution gives you significant breathing room when you sit down to edit your photos. It's a safety net.
Okay, so to sum it up, the R8 provides superior pixel quality and aesthetic depth, but the R7 gives you far greater pixel quantity and the resulting reach and post-processing flexibility.
Both are completely valid foundations, but as you said, they pull the photographer in dramatically different directions.
All right, moving on from the sensor itself, we hit what is maybe the single most divisive point of comparison between these two cameras.
Oh, absolutely. Image stabilization.
Or, more accurately, what Canon decided to leave out of the R8 entirely to hit that aggressive price point.
This is where the R7 really distinguishes itself as the operational master we talked about. The R7 incorporates 7-stop sensor shift image stabilization, or IBIS.
And this isn't just a minor feature, is it?
No, not at all. It fundamentally transforms what you can achieve handheld, especially for a crop sensor that's so often used with long telephoto lenses where any little shake is hugely amplified.
Let's break down the technology clearly for a second. Sensor shift IBIS works by physically float the sensor inside the camera body.
And it uses gyroscopic data to move that sensor slightly to counteract any unwanted camera shake while the shutter is open.
And the beauty of sensor shift IBIS is really twofold.
Right. One, it works on 5 axes. That's pitch, yaw, roll, and then X and Y for lateral movement. So it corrects both rotational and side-to-side movement.
And the second point, which is a huge one.
It works with any lens you mount on the camera.
Any lens.
Any lens. Whether that lens has its own optical stabilization or IS or not, the R7 gain stabilization, which immediately increases the value of older manual lenses or, those great little prime lenses that often lack IS.
And the mathematical reality of a 7-stop advantage is genuinely staggering. I mean, we all learned the traditional rule of thumb for handheld shooting, right?
Your shutter speed should be faster than 1 over your focal length.
So if you're using a standard 50mm lens, you need at least 150th of a second to get a sharp shot.
And if you're using a 200mm lens, you need at least 1200th of a second.
But when you introduce 7 stops of stabilization, the math just goes out the window.
It completely changes the game. That 1200th of a second exposure time can theoretically be stretched to a full half-second exposure.
A half-second handheld.
And still be sharp. It's incredible.
That is the difference between needing to carry a tripod everywhere and shooting completely freehand.
Absolutely.
So where does this IBIS technology truly transform the workflow for someone listening right now?
Well, it transforms several major disciplines. Let's think about landscape photography.
Okay.
You could shoot at base ISO, which gives you the absolute best image quality and dynamic range during the low-lighted golden hour without needing to carry a heavy, cumbersome tripod. You stay mobile, you stay responsive to the changing light.
What about for wildlife, where the R7 already has that reach advantage we talked about?
It's doubly critical there. I mean, when you're using a 400mm lens, which effectively becomes a 640mm on the R7, any small movement you make is magnified hugely down the lens.
Oh, it's very unforgiving.
IBIS is the difference between a tack-sharp shot and a blurry failure, especially when you're in an unstable position like you're crouched in the tall grass or leaning against a tree or shooting out the open window of a safari vehicle. The R7 stabilizes the entire system for you.
And for video, especially if you're a solo content creator or a vlogger.
For any kind of run-and-gun documentary work or vlogging, IBIS is, I would say, non-negotiable. It lets you record footage that is smooth, professional, and visually pleasing without needing a bulky, complex electronic gimbal.
So it drastically reduces your gear footprint.
And increases your agility. You can just pick up the camera and go.
Now here's where the R8 shows its big compromise. Canon made the calculated decision to eliminate IBIS entirely from the R8 body.
It was done purely to achieve that low full-frame price point. It's the single biggest trade-off Canon asked R8 buyers to accept. For many photographers who are now accustomed to modern stabilization, this is the deal breaker.
So without IBIS, how does the R8 achieve any stability at all? It has to rely exclusively on external methods.
Exactly. You are 100% dependent on lens-based optical stabilization, or IS.
And our sources clearly noted the limitation there.
They did. Only 37 of the 91 RF lenses currently available actually include optical stabilization.
So if you pair the R8 with an unstabilized lens, you're out of luck.
You are. You're forced to rely solely on faster shutter speeds to combat shake, which means you have to push the ISO higher.
Potentially nullifying the R8's whole inherent low-light advantage in the first place.
You see the problem. It creates a definite cost ripple effect, too. It forces your hand when you're choosing your glass.
It pushes you toward the more expensive lenses.
It absolutely pushes the R8 user toward premium-priced stabilized lenses, which are often the bigger, more expensive telephotos and zooms, and it greatly limits the appeal of all those affordable, compact prime lenses that don't have IS.
And what about adapting older manual or vintage glass?
Even worse, you get zero stabilization benefit. You lose all that operational flexibility that the R7 offers in spades.
And I'd assume this is particularly painful for video shooting.
Critically so. Now, the R8 does have excellent electronic stabilization in video mode, but that electronic stabilization applies a slight crop to your image. And, well, sometimes it can introduce some strange warping effects around the edges of the frame.
So for truly stable walk-and-talk handheld footage,
without IBIS, you need either a tripod or a gimbal, period. If video stabilization is central to your workflow, the R8's omission of IBIS represents a major, major obstacle.
Okay, if we shift our focus from image quality to the endurance and reliability of the tool itself, we hit the next major dividing line.
Yes, this is huge. The R7 is built for professionals who need a camera that lasts all day.
Whereas the R8 makes compromises that really affect your daily workflow. Let's start with power management, the batteries.
The comparison here could not be starker. The R7 uses the older, more efficient LPE6N battery. And it provides a 660-shot CP rating.
And we should clarify, the SIP rating is that standardized measurement used across the industry for battery life.
Right, and a 660-shot rating represents genuine, stress-free, all-day shooting capability.
That kind of reliability is the hallmark of a professional tool, isn't it? A single charge lets you cover a typical event, like a full afternoon wedding ceremony or an extended session out in the field.
And you'll often have battery life still remaining at the end of the day. That capability completely eliminates battery anxiety.
So one charged battery and one spare in your pocket is all you need.
For virtually any single-day assignment, yes. Without question. This is crucial for event photography, for remote travel, or for those long wildlife sessions where you can't just stop and find a wall outlet to plug into. That consistency is priceless.
Now contrast that with the R8. It uses a physically smaller, less powerful LPE17 battery.
And its CPA rating is just 290 shots.
Our source material described that as candidly inadequate.
It's an honest appraisal. It really is. That poor battery life means the R8 requires constant, meticulous battery management.
So if you're shooting a full-day event, you aren't thinking about your next composition.
You're thinking about your next battery swap. You will need a minimum of 4 or 5 spare batteries just to feel confident through a typical 8-hour shoot.
That's not just an inconvenience, that's a tangible mental and financial overhead.
Absolutely. We noted that the actual cost of a functional R8 system really includes budgeting an extra $200 to $300 just to buy the necessary spare batteries for reliability.
And the fundamental workflow limitation is always there.
It is. The real-world performance often drops below that SIMPA rating, especially if you're using high-speed bursts or shooting a lot of video. The risk of missing a critical moment because you're hurriedly swapping batteries is a constant avoidable threat that the R7 user simply doesn't have to face.
If the battery defines all-day endurance, then the storage architecture defines professional insurance. Let's talk about the R7's dual card slots.
The R7 is equipped with dual UHS-10 SD card slots. Now, the term UHS-2 is important here.
It means they're fast, right?
It signifies the fastest current standard for SD cards, yeah? They offer the speed you need for 4K video and those high-resolution bursts. But the real operational feature is the redundancy provided by having 2 slots.
Why is that dual slot redundancy so crucial, especially if you're doing client work?
It is insurance against disaster. It eliminates the single point of failure. You can configure the R7 to write every photo simultaneously to both cards.
So if card A corrupts,
or malfunctions, or you physically lose one card, which happens, your images are safely backed up on card B.
For professional assignments, a client's wedding, a family portrait session, a once-in-a-lifetime travel moment, that redundancy is, it's ethically and professionally priceless.
Losing a whole day's work because of a $50 card failure is simply unacceptable in a professional setting. You can't tell a bride you lost her wedding photos.
And beyond just the insurance factor, dual slots also hugely enhance your workflow flexibility, which is often an unsung benefit.
They absolutely do. You can configure them in multiple ways. You can separate file types. So RAW files go to the faster, larger card for archival, and JPEGs go to the other for rapid client previews.
Or you could just use the second slot for overflow.
Exactly, for overflow capacity, allowing you to shoot continuously during marathon events. Or you can perform non-interruptive card swapping mid-session, knowing the camera will seamlessly switch and continue recording on the remaining card.
The R8, conversely, has only a single card slot, positioning it squarely as an enthusiast body where cost-saving took precedence over operational safety.
And look, for casual projects or personal photography where you can reshoot the images, a single slot is often perfectly acceptable.
But we have to be blunt about the catastrophic risk.
We do. Card failure is rare, but it is unpredictable. When that one card corrupts during a multi-week trip to a remote location or during the one pivotal moment of an event, the data is completely non-recoverably lost.
That's a huge psychological trade-off the R8 user has to accept. The R8 is basically asking you to exchange security for that full-frame sensor.
And this forces you, the listener, to conduct a deep personal risk assessment. If you are shooting for money, or if the images you are capturing cannot be recreated, a unique nature shot, a wedding moment, then the R7's dual slots provide a peace of mind that the R8 just cannot match, no matter how great its low-light quality is.
Okay, let's turn our attention to speed and mechanics, which are crucial for any action, sports, or street photographer.
Thankfully, this is an area where both the R7 and R8 are very strong. They both use Canon's cutting-edge dual-pixel CMOS AF2 system, complete with that sophisticated, intelligent subject detection and tracking.
So the foundation is the same.
The foundation is the same, but their optimization is different. The R8 is really optimized for electronic speed and low light focus density,
It offers 1,053 selectable AF points.
which provides exceptional frame coverage. You can get precise focusing even on subjects pushed right to the very edges of the frame.
And that coverage is married to its headline-grabbing burst rate.
That's right. The R8 can hit a massive 40 frames per second using its electronic shutter. This is blisteringly fast, built to capture the absolute peak of action, whether it's a water droplet splashing or a high-speed jump.
And that full-frame sensor helps the focus system in tough light, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The R8's superior light gathering capability directly benefits its autofocus performance in challenging lighting. The system just has more light to work with, allowing it to maintain reliable focus tracking in deep shadows, dimly lit concerts, or the dark corners of an indoor sports arena.
Situations where the R7's slightly smaller sensor might hunt for a moment.
It might, yeah. The R8 will be more confident there.
Now let's look at the R7's approach. It has comprehensive coverage with 651 AF points, which is still plenty.
But its real distinction lies in its mechanical excellence and in mitigating the limitations of that electronic shutter.
And that distinction is the mechanical shutter speed.
Exactly. The R7 clocks in at a maximum of 18,000th of a second, which is double the speed of the R8's 14,000th of a second mechanical maximum.
And that difference is not just theoretical, it's critical in specific brightly lit scenarios.
It is.
So why does 18,000th matter if we have an electronic shutter that is effectively much faster?
Because the electronic shutter, for all its speed, introduces a problem known as rolling shutter.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in a photo?
Well, since the image isn't captured all at once, it scans very quickly from the top of the sensor to the bottom. It can distort fast-moving elements in your frame. You might see a golf club that looks like it's bending, or a helicopter propeller that looks warped, or vertical lines that appear skewed when you're panning the camera quickly.
And the R7's faster mechanical shutter is the solution to that.
It's the solution. So if you're shooting a high-speed car race or an outdoor tennis match under bright sun, the R7's 18,000s becomes essential to freeze that motion without any distortion.
And without it, the R8 user is forced into compromises.
Yes. In blazing daylight, if you're shooting with a fast lens like an f1.4 prime, you often must use a fast shutter speed to avoid overexposing the image.
And if the R8 is limited to 14,000s?
You're forced to either raise your ISO unnecessarily, or you have to stop down your aperture and lose that beautiful shallow depth of field, or, and this is a massive workflow disruption, you're forced to carry and attach neutral density, or ND filters, just to maintain control over the light.
The R7 just handles that situation effortlessly.
And the mechanical burst rate reflects this prioritization of versatility too. The R7 can shoot 15 frames per second using its mechanical shutter.
And the R8 tops out at only 6 frames per second mechanically.
That 1550 ease gives the R7 much greater versatility in situations where silent shooting isn't needed, or where you need to sync with a flash, or where those electronics shutter artifacts would just ruin the shot. The R7 is a much more reliably versatile camera for action in varying light conditions.
Shifting gears a bit, the physical design also reflects these differing philosophies. Portability versus substance. The R8 is clearly the choice for the minimalist traveler.
It is absolutely built for compactness. It measures 133 by 86 by 70 millimeters and weighs a mere 461 grams. This extreme portability means it just disappears into a small bag.
Perfect for discreet street photography or travel where every ounce really counts.
That 22 millimeter advantage in thickness over the R7 makes a huge difference when you're carrying the camera for long periods.
But that compactness almost always involves a compromise in handling, doesn't it?
Invariably. The R8 features a smaller grip, and its controls can feel a bit cramped for photographers with larger hands, or for anyone mounting a slightly heavier lens. It's light, but it can feel less secure for heavy lifting.
The R7, on the other hand, is substantially built. It handles more like a traditional SLR.
Yeah, the R7 measures 132 by 90 by 92 millimeters and weighs 612 grams. That substantial feel and that deeper contour grip provide much better comfort and stability.
Which is essential when you pair it with the long, heavy telephoto lenses that crop sensor users rely on for wildlife and sports.
The handling is simply more confidence-inspiring when stability is critical. It feels more secure in the hand.
And there's one professional detail in that extra bulk for the R7 that field photographers will immediately appreciate.
The anti-dust shutter mechanism.
Which is a fantastic operational win for the R7.
It is. When you remove the lens, the mechanical shutter automatically closes down to protect the sensor from dust and debris.
This is invaluable for outdoor photographers working in windy, sandy, or dusty environments where you're swapping lenses frequently.
It's another one of those small but significant details that just underscores the R7's design as a serious tool for field work.
Given that virtually every camera now is a competent video tool, we have to assess their movie-making prowess.
And both the R7 and the R8 provide a strong, modern foundation for video creation. They share a lot of Canon's latest tech.
They share several critical features that elevate them above entry-level cameras, right?
They do. Both record sharp 4K UHD with 4K oversampling, meaning they take a higher resolution image and then condense it down to 4K, which gives you enhanced detail.
And they both offer unlimited recording duration.
Which finally eliminates those old 30-minute time limits, thank goodness.
And operationally, they share the tools required for professional monitoring and grading.
Correct. Both have fully articulating touchscreens, which are essential. They both have mic and headphone jacks for monitoring audio. And crucially, they both offer Canon Log Gamma.
For the listener who might be unfamiliar with that, what is Canon Log?
It allows you to record a very flat, desaturated color profile, which preserves the maximum possible dynamic range in your footage. It gives videographers much greater flexibility to color grade their footage to a cinematic standard in post-production.
Now, where does the R8 pull ahead in terms of pure video features?
The R8 really targets that cinematic production aesthetic, and it does that primarily with two features. First, it includes lens breathing correction for supported RF lenses.
Okay, what is lens breathing?
It's that distracting optical effect where the field of view seems to slightly zoom in or out when you rack focus from a close subject to a far one. The R8 can digitally eliminate this.
So for narrative work, interviews, or commercial production?
It's a huge selling point. It maintains professional consistency in your shots.
And the R8 also has a slight edge in slow motion capability.
It does. It can record high-speed video up to 180 frames per second at 1080p, which is excellent for those really dramatic slow motion effects. This slightly surpasses the R7's 120 frames per second.
So combined with the R8's superior low-light performance, it's better equipped for shooting dramatic, high-speed indoor sequences.
That's where it really excels. But the R7 fights back hard on the video front, leveraging its operational mastery once again.
The AB.
The R7's 7-stop IBIS is transformative for video. It delivers silky smooth footage without requiring you to carry or constantly calibrate a heavy gimbal.
So for solo documentary shooters, journalists, or someone doing intense run-and-gun filmmaking.
That integrated stabilization is a massive workflow-defining advantage.
And we keep coming back to the operational reality of using these cameras.
Because the operational edge is paramount for videographers. Better battery life means longer, uninterrupted recording sessions. Dual card slots allow for backup recording or simple extended capacity.
Which is essential for capturing lengthy events or interviews where a failure means the entire scene is just gone.
For many professional video workflows that prioritize reliability and agility over all else, the R7's operational strengths are arguably more valuable than the R8's subtle cinematic corrections.
This detailed comparison leads us naturally into what is often the biggest constraint for the listener: the lens ecosystem factor.
This is critical for your long-term budget. The camera body price is just the entry fee. The lenses are the real long-term investment.
So when you buy an R8, you are committing to the full-frame RF ecosystem.
You are. And while the RF system has grown rapidly, full-frame RF lenses are typically much larger, much heavier, and significantly more expensive than their crop sensor counterparts.
And that's because they just require larger glass elements to cover that entire full-frame sensor area?
It's just a matter of physics and manufacturing cost.
So what does that mean for the total system cost?
Well, while the R8 body price is aggressive, your total investment escalates very quickly. A professional-grade, stabilized, full-frame zoom lens often costs between $2,000 and $5,000.
So you are looking at needing to invest substantial capital into glass just to build a foundational, usable kit that really takes advantage of that full-frame sensor.
You have to honestly ask yourself if your budget extends far beyond the camera body itself, because the R8 demands expensive glass to truly shine.
The R7, using its APS-C sensor, offers much greater lens flexibility and a cheaper entry path, even though it shares the same RF mount.
Right. The R7 can mount all 91 RF lenses, including the R8's full-frame glass. But crucially, it also benefits from the growing range of affordable, lighter, APS-C-specific lenses, which are labeled RFS.
And those lenses are designed to be smaller and cheaper from the ground up.
They are, and the stabilization factor further saves money for the R7 user.
How so?
Because the R7 has IBIS, you don't need to prioritize purchasing the stabilized or IS versions of full-frame lenses. You can save money by choosing non-IS lenses, knowing the camera body itself will provide the stabilization for you.
So the R7 offers a much more portable and budget-friendly path to achieving comprehensive focal length coverage right out of the box.
The total cost of building a full, usable stabilized kit around the R7 is considerably lower than the cost of building a comparable stabilized kit around the R8. It's not even close.
Okay, to bring this all home for the listener, let's stop talking about abstract specs and translate these differences into practical, real-world consequences. We'll look at common photographic disciplines based on the assessment scores in our sources.
Let's start with the field where the R7 is purpose-built to dominate: wildlife and nature photography.
The R7 has the clear advantage here, often scoring 90% or higher for this discipline. And that automatic 1.6x crop factor immediately extends your reach.
It means a relatively affordable 400mm lens acts like a powerful 640mm lens.
And you combine that reach with IBIS,
which is essential for stabilizing those long telephoto shots, especially when you're standing, crouching, or shooting from an unstable blind. Add the superior 660-shot battery life, those extended field sessions, and the R7 is the obvious, overwhelming choice.
The R8's full-frame quality is meaningless if your subject is too small in the frame.
Or if your battery dies before you even get the shot.
Now let's move to wedding and event photography. This is where the R8 should shine, leveraging that big sensor.
And in terms of pure image quality and aesthetic, the R8 is superior, no question. The low-light performance handles dark venues exceptionally well, and the full-frame sensor provides that shallow depth of field for professional-looking portraits.
So if you are shooting in a controlled studio environment or an ideal location, the R8 wins aesthetically.
It does, but professional wedding photography is rarely controlled or ideal. This brings us right back to that massive operational reservation for the R8.
The single card slot.
And the poor battery life. Professionals who demand perfection and cannot reshoot must confront that reality. Accepting the risk of data loss from a catastrophic card failure is a decision many ethical professionals simply cannot make.
So while the R8 offers superior aesthetic results in theory,
the R7 often becomes the safer, more reliable choice for the working pro who has to prioritize operational safety above all else, even despite the R7's slight disadvantage in high ISO noise.
What about travel photography? Where weight and portability are paramount, the R8's compactness should win out.
And it does win on portability. The R8 is 151 grams lighter and significantly more compact. It's the ideal choice for city exploration and discreet street work where you're carrying the camera all day long.
And the full-frame quality is excellent for landscapes and travel portraits.
No doubt. But the R8's Achilles heel of battery life is particularly problematic for remote travel.
If your trip involves multi-day hiking, remote destinations, or extended periods away from reliable charging,
the R8 becomes a logistical nightmare. The R7, with its endurance, lets you confidently pack fewer batteries or go much longer between charging opportunities, which is a significant factor when you're traveling off-grid.
Moving to street photography, where discretion and available light are key. Our sources gave the R7 a surprising advantage here.
That 90% rating for the R7 versus the R8's 74% really reflects the power of that operational toolkit. IGIS is essential for achieving sharp handheld shots in available ambient light.
It allows the photographer to stay mobile and discreet without a tripod or a flash.
And the R7's rapid responsiveness and all-day battery life ensure you don't miss that decisive fleeting moment because you're messing with your power management. The R8 might be slightly smaller, but the R7's built-in operational features make it the superior tool for adapting to those unpredictable street environments.
Finally, sports photography. This seems to be the most venue-dependent split.
It is. There's a slight advantage for the R8 for indoor sports, thanks to that 40 fps electronic burst and its superior low-light autofocus tracking. That full-frame light advantage helps with focus acquisition.
But for outdoor sports in break conditions,
the R7 remains equally capable, maybe even superior, due to its critical 18,000th of a second mechanical shutter, which eliminates rolling shutter artifacts, and its robust battery life, which you need for long tournaments or full games. And the R7's 15 fps mechanical burst makes it reliable in any light.
This feature comparison only makes sense when we talk about the total cost of ownership. Let's dive into the price to performance analysis, because the initial price tag is highly deceptive.
The Canon R8 starts at an almost unbelievable $1,099 for a full-frame sensor. That's why it grabs so many headlines. It's remarkable technological value.
But as we've established, that low initial price is highly misleading when you consider the total system costs.
Very misleading.
What are the required add-ons for the R8 to function reliably in the field?
First, you have to budget $200 to $300 for 3 or 4 additional batteries just to achieve all-day shooting confidence. Second, because the R8 lacks IBIS, you are heavily pressured toward those premium-priced, optically stabilized lenses,
which can easily add $300 or more per lens to your budget.
Our sources estimate that the actual total investment approaches $1,500 to $1,800 just for a reliable, functional system. And that's before you even purchase your high-end primary lenses.
The R7 has a higher initial price point at $1,499. But that higher cost is fundamentally justified because those necessary features are built in, not added on.
Precisely. The R7's initial price includes IBIS, which saves you hundreds of dollars in stabilized lens costs down the line. It includes the redundancy of dual card slots, which protects your data, and the superior battery life significantly reduces your immediate need for spare battery purchases.
So the R7 has a higher initial entry ticket.
But because its feature set is so complete, it often has a lower total cost of reliable ownership than the R8.
This leads us to the crucial long-term investment perspective. Is the R8 a gateway camera or a destination camera?
The R8 is definitively a gateway into full frame. And this strategy is smart if you are already planning to invest heavily in expensive full-frame RF lenses with the intention of eventually upgrading to a professional full-frame body in the future.
So you buy the R8 for the sensor, accepting the limitations as temporary compromises.
Exactly. The danger being that if those operational limitations, the battery life, the lack of stabilization, frustrate your workflow too much, you might end up upgrading sooner than you planned.
Making the R8 a very expensive, short-lived stepping stone.
If you aren't prepared to live within its constraints, yes.
The R7, on the other hand, is positioned more as a specialized destination camera.
It offers a complete, robust feature set from day one. Dual slots, IBIS, great battery life. You are far less likely to outgrow its operational capabilities quickly.
And for photographers whose work genuinely benefits from that crop factor reach, like wildlife shooters.
The R7 can remain relevant as a specialized telephoto body for many, many years, even if you eventually add a full-frame camera for your general use. It fills a permanent, specialized niche in your gear bag.
So what does the final verdict look like when we factor in all these variables from sensor quality to operational safety?
Well, the comprehensive scoring in the sources is almost identical. The R7 at 73 overall and the R8 at 72. This confirms that neither camera is universally superior.
The score difference is negligible.
Because they're optimized for entirely different philosophies and different target users. The R8 prioritizes maximum sensor quality and cinematic aesthetics above all else.
While the R7 emphasizes complete operational capability, mechanical robustness, and reach above absolute sensor size.
Your core decision, listener, must align with your photography reality, where and how you actually shoot, not just what features sound impressive on a spec sheet.
If you are truly a controlled environment shooter who prizes that full-frame aesthetic above all else,
the R8 is your camera. But if you are a field photographer who needs stabilization, telephoto reach, and guaranteed operational reliability,
the R7 is the essential tool.
It really is that clear a divide.
That brings us to the conclusion of this incredibly detailed comparison. We've covered everything from the 253% difference in pixel size to the life or death choice between single and dual card slots.
And the crucial lesson here is that the wrong choice isn't the camera itself. It's choosing based purely on headline specifications without honestly assessing your real-world needs and your budget for the entire system.
The R8 asks you to supplement its Leica features with technique, external stabilization, and expensive batteries and lenses.
While the R7 gives you the complete, stabilized, operationally reliable toolkit right up front.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture and leave you with one final provocative thought.
Consider the limitations that are non-upgradable. The R7's strengths, IBIS, the dual card slot, the battery life, are fixed, operational traits that you cannot add later. The R8's strength, its sensor size, is a fixed physical trait that cannot be changed.
So ask yourself, which of those limitations would be harder for you to live with in 5 years?
The sensor size or the operational compromise? The answer to that question is your camera.